So, Microsoft Inspired Day 1. So, I've done a few sessions. It's now the afternoon. So, first session I did was Modern Workplace, and my takeaways are Microsoft are continuing a strong emphasis on Microsoft 365. They're really drilling now and empowering the removal of Windows 7 and legacy Office applications, so Office 2010, Office 2013, and driving partners on the productivity of helping customers transition to the modern workplace and Microsoft 365. Strong emphasis on using Windows Analytics to help customers get there onto a platform of Windows 10 and Office Pro Plus. They showed a lot on GDPR, so the GDPR dashboard to do subject access requests, and also Compliance Manager. They're quite excited about the results coming out this Thursday, so obviously they didn't share anything with us, but the general consensus is that they're expecting triple-digit growth in Microsoft 365, which is obviously absolutely fantastic. Secure Score was shown. There's improvements to Secure Score, obviously as an API that can be utilised by partners to get a great consensus across all Office 365 customer tenancies, but there's also improvements to some Secure Score where you can now utilise Windows as well. So for example, if you have Microsoft 365, Secure Score can be looked at not only for Office 365 but for Windows devices too. And then finally, Microsoft have settled on Teams, so I'm just checking my notes. Teams being the inner loop with Yammer being the outer loop. Now, if you remember, it was actually a non-Microsoft, I think it was an MVP that came up with this whole inner and outer loop consensus. And previously, the inner loop and the outer loop would consist of multiple Office 365 products. Yammer was firmly out in that outer loop, but the general consensus and what's being shown at Aspire is Teams is the inner loop, Yammer is the outer loop, and that's it. And Outlook, so email, is utilised in kind of that middle ground area. I think email is going to exist for a good number of years, so it makes sense it sits there, and then obviously Teams being the inner loop makes sense with everything that's happening with Skype for Business. And Yammer, where you do use it in that outer loop area, so that all makes perfect sense. So I also did some Azure sessions, specifically Azure and GDPR, so here's my takeaways. Azure covers currently 79 compliance offerings, which is pretty fantastic. You can check them out at aka.ms/Azure Compliance. They're broken into different areas: global, government, industry, and regional. The government one is pretty much US Gov, and regional is all the other areas. So for example, if you're looking for NHS, you would look under that regional section. They were quite keen to note that most competitors only have 20 to 30 of these compliance offerings, so Azure is out in the lead. There's also a strong offering for Azure Security and Compliance Blueprints that actually help with things like GDPR, PCI DSS compliance, and others. You can have a look at those and get them at aka.ms/Azure-blueprints. There was also an overlap of Compliance Manager. Obviously, Compliance Manager is not only utilised for Office 365 but Azure as well. Plus, you can of course create your own custom dashboards, and that's all aimed to help the pillars of GDPR: increase privacy, improve security, data breach control mechanisms, etc. One thing I wasn't aware of was the policy dashboard in the Azure portal that helps with GDPR compliance. It's extremely impressive in subject access requests and also the right to be forgotten, but it is currently aligned to you having an Azure identity. So for example, it's specifically most likely around an employee that's either left or about to leave, or an employee that's just raised a subject access request to the business. I need to try it out really, so this will be something I'm going to do in my blog. So I'm going to go through this and do some video takeaways for you, and we'll also test to see if it actually works with Azure Guest Access and see how that whole policy portal in Azure works works with guest users. And finally, Microsoft confirmed there's no current plan to unify the subject access request capabilities in Azure and currently Office 365 yet. So I'd imagine it'll be a suck it and see, wait and see how that works out. I would imagine sometime in the future there's going to have to be some kind of unification, because obviously Azure AD is the identity across both Azure and Office 365, so there's always going to be some level of crossover. And that's it. So having a really good time. I'm going to go and get a beer, and I'll see you for the wash up tomorrow for day 2.